I want you to tell me how you got your name.
I got my name from President Jeff Davis, the President of the Southern Confederation. He owned my grandfather and my father. My grandfather was a blacksmith, and my father had learned how to write a little bit in Richmond, Virginia before he brought him down there.
This is the voice of George Johnson, a man who lived through the hell of slavery in America. At the time of this interview, it was 1941. Almost 80 years since he tasted freedom, but the scars of his past haven't faded. In the interview, he talks about his days working on a plantation owned by none other than Jefferson Davis, the very leader of the Confederacy who fought tooth and nail to keep slavery alive.
Grandpa used to keep chalk in his shop to mark the odd thing. My father took a piece and put it in his pocket and passed in front of Master Jeff's house. He lay on the sidewalk. And so one morning, Master Jeff come by and saw that writing on the wall. He go back, asked the cook, little Eliza. He's writing on the sidewalk. Who write out there? He said, I don't know, Master Jeff. He said, come out there, I'll show you, I can read it. So he read it. He said, Miss Eliza, if you can find whoever might walk out there, I carry out the store and give you a pretty dress. She said, yes, Master Jeff. So one morning, she's out putting out some dishwater. And she cleaned out the dish pan and she looked down and saw my father down with his knees right on the sidewalk. She told Master Jeff. Master Jeff sent for the boy to come to the shop, come to the house, and asked him to learn him how to write. Yeah, Master Jeff, I learned how to write in Richmond, Virginia. Little white boy learned how to write. Before he went down here. He did, yes. He gave him pencil. He said, write my name. My father's name, my idea. He called it Mike. Write my name. He wrote Jeff Davis' name. He wrote Joe Davis. He wrote Joe Davis. He wrote Vicksburg. He wrote Vicksburg. He said, Ike, that's too nice for you. And he went back to the shop. And Master Jeff sent to Richmond, Virginia, and got 2 teachers. He made my father a civil engineer. And they made Cotton Montgomery as bookkeeper. And on, they made different ones, farmers, carpenters, sawmills, gins, all like that. That's the curriculum of my father and Cotton Montgomery.
Now, some may think that this is merely a simple recording from the past, but the truth is, it's part of something much bigger. For generations, Black families, communities, and schools, especially those historically Black colleges and universities, have been collecting stories like these. They knew the importance of preserving the voices of their enslaved elders, those who lived through the unimaginable. The 1930s brought new tools to help with this mission: recording technology. That's when both the government and regular individuals started capturing these interviews on tape, creating a living record of the past.
Did they drive the slaves down there in Davis's Bend very hard, or did they work them reasonable?
Reasonable. You know, Master Joe gave Master Jeff another boy, and boy was chopping cotton. Boy didn't kill with the gang, you understand? He would come to hook the boy killed, you understand? That's the house of Master Jeff boy. And that's what's the trouble, son. Say, Mr. Don't hook me, because I would kill with the gang in it.
Indeed, hearing the details of their lives can be tough, but these stories also remind us that slavery isn't ancient history. It's real people with real names, real faces, and real stories. And we owe it to them to listen. In the 1930s, the Works Progress Administration sponsored a federal project dedicated to chronicling the experience of slavery as remembered by former slaves and their descendants. That is why the audio tape we just showed you exists. However, the conductor of these interviews and how they were conducted matters enormously. For these WPA interviews, the vast majority of interviewers were white, and some were even the children of former slave owners interviewing former slaves of the same family. Slavery was a system for allocating status, and slaves and ex-slaves were supposed to be low-status people. So when they talked to people they perceived as higher status, they had to be very careful about what they said because those people could determine their fate. So keep in mind, even though some audio recordings don't reveal it, the reality is that enslaved people endured unspeakable horrors. Beatings, torture, it was all part of the brutal system they were trapped in. Just take a look at this program that ran on national television in 1963. Here, a professor narrates some of the more unfiltered narratives given by former slaves, many of which are quite haunting.
I'm going to read, as an example, an historical example. This is American history, from a narrative produced many years ago by WPA. This excerpt is from a volume, Lay My Burden Down, which is the verbatim record of interviews with the last of the slaves. I will read only a small segment, just to give you a sense of the drama, the feeling and content which lies in this kind of historical material, which is the content we teach. This one is called, She Never Got to Keep Her Babies. My mother told me that Master owned a woman who was the mother of several children, and when her babies would get about a year or two of age, he'd sell them, and it would break her heart. She never got to keep them. When her fourth baby was born and was about 2 months old, she just studied all the time about how she would have to give it up, and one day she said, I just decided I'm not going to let old Master sell this baby. He just ain't going to do it. She got up and give it something out of a bottle, and pretty soon it was dead. Of course, didn't nobody telling her, or he'd have beat her nearly to death.
Imagine being so fearful of your baby being sold into slavery that you reckon that baby is better off dead. That kind of unimaginable despair and desperation is hard to fathom, but it was a grim reality for countless enslaved mothers. Now here is another account from a former slave named Liza.
Second segment, titled, I Just Said It to the Wrong Person. One time some Yankee soldiers stopped and started talking to me. They asked me what my name was. I say Liza, and they say, Liza who? I thought a minute and I shook my head. Just Liza, I ain't got no other name. He say, who live up yonder in that big house? I say, Mr. John Mixon. He say, you are Liza Mixon. He say, do anybody ever call you? And I say, yes sir. He say, next time anybody call you tell him you is a and your name is Miss Liza Mixon. The more I thought of that, the more I liked it, and I made up my mind to do just what he told me to. My job was minding the calves back while the cows was being milked. One evening I was minding the calves and old Master came along. He say, what you doing? I say, real pert like, I ain't no I's a and I'm Miss Liza Mixon. Old Master sure was surprised, and he picks up a switch and starts at me. Law, but I was scared. I had never had no whipping, so I run as fast as I can to Grandma Gracie. I hid behind her and she say, what's the matter with you, child? And I say, Master John going to whip me. And she say, what you done? And I say, nothing. She say, you know better. And about that time, Master John got there. He say, Gracie, that little asked me. She say, Lawsy, child, what does ail you? I told him what the Yankee soldier told me to say. And Grandma Gracie took my dress and lifted over my head and pinched my hands and sides, and Lawsy, how she whipped me. And I dasn't holler loud either. I just said that to the wrong person. The authentic content of these reports can touch and teach many adolescents. Quite a few which I did not read take a strong heart and stomach. Slavery, as a matter of fact, was not good.
Slavery was never good, no matter how well some masters allegedly treated their slaves. In the end, it was still an era of heightened prejudice and racial oppression. Now let's have a listen to this audio tape from 1974, where a woman named Celia Black, who was 114 years old and nearing the end of her life, shared her memories of picking cotton as a child in Texas. Born into slavery, her story is another reminder of just how recent this chapter in American history truly was.
I didn't have to pick cotton or nothing.
I didn't do nothing but work in the field. Work in the field, oh goodness. Me and my husband would go out west and pick cotton. Go out west every year. We've been this year going out there picking cotton.
Didn't you have some entertainment, do any dancing or anything?
Oh, I used to dance, but I don't do it now. No, I don't dance now. I try my best to serve my master. I'm trying my best to serve my Heavenly Father.
Celia Black's lifetime was extraordinary. She was alive when Abraham Lincoln was president, guiding the nation through the Civil War. and she lived long enough to witness the resignation of President Richard Nixon during the Watergate scandal. Think about that timeline. The span of American history she experienced is simply astounding.
Man,
You remember Abraham Lincoln, Featherman?
oh, well, they gave him a good name. Oh, Abraham Lincoln. They thought Abraham was they thought, everybody thought Abraham was the best president they were.
But Celia's story doesn't end there. Thanks to the 10 Million Names Project, an ambitious endeavor aimed at identifying every single enslaved person in American history, her legacy lives on. The goal of the project is simple but powerful: to give back the dignity stolen from those who were enslaved and help their descendants reconnect with their roots. And that's exactly what happened with Celia Black. Through the tireless work of genealogists on the project, her direct descendants were found, bringing her story full circle and ensuring her memory lives on. Here is one of her descendants who met her firsthand and is still alive to tell her tales.
She's my great-grandmother from my mother's side of the family.
Do you remember any of the stories that she would tell?
She told us about how difficult it was, just being alive during that period. And of course, she would tell us a story about the big ox that they had 2 of them, and how her father would set her right on the head of the ox, and she would just hold on with the horns. So those are, as a boy, those are fascinating. You say, wow.
My grandfather had some big old oxen. He had one with a big wide horns. Oh, it looked like a house. Wide horns. And I used to sit up there and between them horns. And then his name was Coley. And the other one was named Lep.
It was very challenging for me to hear when they asked her the question about what it was like working in the fields. The heat in Texas, the humidity, and sometimes 105, 110 degrees, and I just can't fathom waking up, sun up to sundown, working in the fields. How do they do it? How did they do it?
When you learn about slavery in America, especially if you're Black, that initial gut reaction is anger, and it's justified. Slavery was a brutal system designed to crush people, and that's a dark legacy that should make anyone furious. But then, there's the other side of the coin, the African-American story of survival and resilience. It's awe-inspiring to hear these voices say, "Yes, I went through hell, but I'm still here. I made it through, raised a family, and left my mark on the world." That's powerful. It's a testament to the strength of the human spirit and a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable hardship, hope can endure.
You had the chance to know your great-grandmother.
Yes.
How powerful is it being able to connect that dot?
It's extremely powerful. You got to hear it from her directly. Not something that was passed on, but to hear it directly from her pain.
The 10 Million Names Project is a giant digital library where people can gather and share unfiltered information about their ancestors. It's a massive undertaking, especially since there is not much official documentation about enslaved people.
Do we know roughly how many of these recordings exist?
The recordings are relatively rare, but the recordings come from a much larger and really important and in many ways unsung collecting effort that took place. In terms of audio technology, most of it was not recorded by audio because the technology didn't exist, at least in any kind of widespread accessible way when most of those were conducted. So it's really just a handful of audio recordings we have.
Now, along with these tapes comes the question, who stands to gain the most from hearing these recordings? Is it Black America, white America, or Americans as a whole? The answer is everyone. If we truly want to grasp the meaning of freedom, we need to understand those who were robbed of it. These voices, these stories, they're the missing pieces of the puzzle. They reveal the true cost of oppression and the strength of the human spirit. Slavery is as old as history, but sadly, it is still happening today, with multiple reports of slavery in modern-day Africa, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and many other countries. By listening to these voices, we honor the resilience of those who endured unimaginable suffering. We acknowledge the painful legacy of slavery, not to dwell in the past, but to learn from it and forge a better future. Let us commit to eradicating modern slavery in all its forms and ensure that everyone, everywhere, has the right to live free. Thank you for joining us as we heard the voices of some of the strongest people. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking discussions. Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. Until next time, take care and stay powerful.